Mr. Sledge, again, good afternoon, sir.
How you doing, Your Honor?
I'm fine. Is this your name, or is this your signature
Yes, Your
on
Honor.
the face of this indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Before you sign this indictment, did you have an opportunity to fully discuss the facts and circumstances of this case with your attorney, Mr. Wright, to your satisfaction?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sledge, based upon the responses that you've given during the court's inquiry, I find that your guilty plea is freely and voluntarily entered.
From serious accusations to surprising plea deals, the racketeering trial of rapper Young Thug has had a major impact on the music industry. SiriusXM's Mina Llona breaks it down for us. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. We've been getting into the major trial of Grammy Award-winning rapper Young Thug. The rapper, whose real name is Jeffrey Lamar Williams, is facing 8 criminal counts, including conspiracy to violate the state's RICO or racketeering law down in Georgia. This is part of a wide sweeping criminal indictment against him and what was originally 28 other defendants, although a number of these defendants have taken plea deals like Gunna, Trontavia Stick Stevens, Antonio Sledge. But what prosecutors are claiming are that these defendants are all part of a criminal enterprise, that Williams is at the head of it, that he co-founded a street gang called YSL, or Young Slime Life, back in 2012. And this gang has just wreaked havoc across the city. We have people who've been charged with murder, aggravated assault, robbery, theft, illegal firearms possession. I can talk about the legal aspects of this case all day long, but that is not what we are going to do. We are going to do something a little bit different here, because what is the impact of this case on the music industry? Well, to help me talk a little bit more about that, I have a very special guest with me. I am joined right now by award-winning radio host and multimedia personality Mina Llona, also known as Mina SayWhat. She is with us. Mina is currently on air nationwide on SiriusXM The Heat with her show Mina's House. She's also heard on WRNB FM 100.3 Philly weekdays, and her weekly podcast, Mina's House Podcast, can be found on MinaSayWhat.com on all podcast platforms. And she's also a feature writer for the Philadelphia Tribune. And Mina joins us now. Mina, did I get everything right? I hope I did.
You got it all right. And I'm a new mom. So throw that title in there.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And you took the time out of a busy new mom schedule to come on Sidebar. Really appreciate it. So I'm glad to have you on, because we usually have lawyers on. We usually have, law enforcement. I was very curious what this case, and it hasn't really even started yet. We think it's going to last about a year. What is it, the impact of this case have been? What has it been on the music industry?
It's been very divisive, just because of the nuances going on with the people taking plea deals. Gunna taking a plea deal, he comes across as very, very unloyal, a bad friend. It's definitely has a lot of people debating about if that was the correct thing to do or not. But I think the bigger picture is the fact that they are using lyrics, song lyrics, Instagram posts as part of the discovery and the evidence used in this trial to corroborate real serious crimes like murder, attempted murder, some of the high level things that not all of the 28 people that were indicted were charged with, but only a select few. So Young Thug's campaign and his whole defense is, look, I'm an entertainer. I say things for entertainment value. I post things for entertainment. That shouldn't be used against me in a legitimate crime investigation. So there is this campaign, and Jay-Z has gotten involved, Meek Mill has gotten involved, where it's protect Black art. Young Thug's position is, I am an artist. These things are part of my art. They don't necessarily mean that if I say something, I'm admitting to a crime, but they absolutely shouldn't be used against me in the court of law, because it violates my freedom of speech. So there's that conversation about it being so much as an attack on music, an attack on hip hop, but then also it's a very layered case where people are also like, well, Young Thug and Gunna were friends, and he's not a good friend. He's disloyal. He's a snitch. Not even just Gunna, but also Young Thug's brother, who also copped the plea deal. Also, the co-founder of YSL, who also copped the plea deal. 8 people took plea deals in which they were saying, hey, YSL is a gang, not just a label. And it has a lot of serious implications about loyalty, about friendship, about business, about the music business, and about art and music as art.
So a lot of things to get into there. I'm going to talk about Gunna first. I want to get into the rap lyric second, but let's talk about Gunna for a second. So everybody who's joining us, if you don't know, Gunna, rapper, his real name is Sergio Kitchens. He was facing a RICO charge. He took an Alford plea. It's basically he pleads guilty, but he maintains his innocence. He's like, I didn't do
Right.
it, but if this went to trial, prosecutors are going to be able to convict me. So he had 1 year of his 5-year sentence commuted, the 4 remaining years suspended. He's released. He has to do, I think, 500 hours of community service.
Community
He,
service, right.
yeah, he can be called to testify, but he said he's just going to plead the fifth. He said, while I have agreed, he issued a statement. While I have agreed to always be truthful, I want to make it perfectly clear that I've not made any statements, have not been interviewed, have not cooperated, have not agreed to testify. And he goes on to say that. Now, in court, we actually have video of this. He acknowledged,
Right.
like you said, that YSL is a gang and it's dangerous.
Do you acknowledge the following statement? I recognize, accept, and deeply regret that my talent and music indirectly furthered YSL the gang to the detriment of my community. YSL as a gang must end. Is that your statement or acknowledgement?
Yes.
The question I have to you now is, what has been the response in the community against him? Because from what I'm reading, not only is he being shunned, but aren't high profile people like unfollowing him on Instagram now?
Little Baby has unfollowed him. Meek Mill has unfollowed him. He absolutely has been shunned. We're literally seeing the play out of what people think is disloyalty on his part. He was part of not only this label, but also this collective. YSL is a group of people, right? He says it in his lyrics. He was very he represented the label. And now all of a sudden, all these really serious things are happening, and he's like, wait. It's also a gang and it's also a label. And I'm going to say that in court. But when I come outside of the court, now I'm going to say, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say anything. I didn't release any statements. But the reality is, you might not have been very specific about the things that were allegedly done. However, by him just admitting that YSL is a gang, in addition to these other 7 people that copped the plea deal, you essentially are putting a nail in Young Thug's coffin, because the whole premise of this is it's a RICO charge, right? So we know why RICO was started. It was started for the mob, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so the low level mobsters were creating, were murdering people and robbing, and they could not prosecute the high level mobsters because they weren't the ones actually doing the crime. So that's what's happening here. They've essentially cooperated that this is a gang, and because now there's footage and there's evidence that this is a gang, now they can say, well, this is a gang. Young Thug could be prosecuted for these other things that these other members in the alleged gang did. He hasn't been charged with murder, aggravated assault, any of the more serious crimes. But now, because Young Thug, because Gunna and Thug's older brother said that this is a gang, now Young Thug could essentially go to jail if they manage to convict the lower level quote unquote gang members for murder, attempted murder. I mean, it's everything: racketeering,
Yeah.
money laundering. It's a slew of 56 charges.
And I read, Funk Flex. He said he salutes, Bobby Shmurda, Young Thug, Fetty Wap, people who didn't cooperate with police. Have you seen anything that Gunna's? I hate to say it, but is there a target on his back? I mean, have people made threats against him? How, because being a snitch is not the best look. Have you seen anything like that?
I have not seen it on social media, but I would imagine it wouldn't happen on social media. It would be something that happens in private. I think that Gunna created a serious misstep and put a more of a target on his back when he came out of jail and posted on Instagram. He put up a picture of him at home, and the hashtag was YSL, the label, free, Thug, free Yak. I think that further in kind of added like fuel to the fire, that people are upset. Not only did you say that YSL is a gang, but now you are on the outside, kind of flaunting that you're free and saying free Young Thug and free Yak, when you're the reason why Young Thug and Yak might go to jail because of the things that you said. So I would imagine that in itself would create a lot of it created a target on his back, and it would create a lot of issues. And because of the magnitude of this case, I don't see anyone publicly making a threat. But if I were Gunna, I would not be outside right now. I would not try to further my music career. I would take a little bit of a time out. I mean, the jury process has just started. There's already problems with the jurors in this case, where there's alleged that the jurors are talking to representatives from Young Thug's camp. It's basically a mess, right? I would just stay shut, stay out of the limelight, whether he's a snitch or not. He maintains he's not a snitch. Thug's older brother maintains that they're not a snitch. Yeah, they might have not directly said, hey, X, Y, and Z happened. But as we mentioned earlier, you just saying that YSL is a gang really puts Young Thug in a precarious situation.
Yeah, look, I think the case is a little bit of a mess in the sense you have so many people, and I think one of the reasons they took, or accepted these deals, which are kind of favorable deals, is because the more defendants you have, the more chance the whole case could blow up. So they're trying to whittle it down a little bit. I get it. I want to just get into something that you mentioned about the lyrics, because I think that's a really important point. We've seen other cases where lyrics have been used against the defendants, Bobby Shmurda, Tekashi 6ix9ine. But the thing that I think is really interesting here is I don't know if it's created more of a highlight here. I see more people talking about it. Are you nervous that there's a double standard? Because some people have said, well, if you're going to take rap lyrics and use it against the artist, why not go against, somebody said this, like Johnny Cash, did everybody think that Johnny Cash really shot someone when he was mentioning it in one of his lyrics? Are you concerned about this? Do you think that this is going to highlight it? We talked about the Restoring Artists Protection of Rap Act. There's the Petition to Protect the Black Art Act. So you tell me what you think about that.
I think it absolutely is a double standard. It really depends on the artist, the kind of music that they're playing. Drake has a song called Mob Ties. Are they going to go and try to connect, Drake to the mob and then say he's part of the mob and prosecute him for under the RICO Act, whether federally or statewide, and then try to say, okay, well, just because you're friends with this mob person and you have a song called Mob Ties, now all of a sudden you're part of this illicit criminal act, gang and organization, and now I'm going to hold Drake accountable for the murders that the other mob members committed allegedly. Come on. It's like I just think that prosecutors are trying to find whatever they can in order to make certain things stick. And I do think that social media has provided like a platform for law enforcement to really use that as a way to solve crimes. More and more and more we're starting to see, well, this on social media, this is actual evidence, right? But the ironic part about social media is you only put out on social media what you want people to see, right? Half of the time, the persona that is portrayed on social media, we see it, is probably not who the person is in real life. So it's like it's a facade. It's what you want people to know about you. It's not necessarily a full representation of who you are as a person. So to use those things on social media, which a lot of the times are just lies and fabrications because you want to portray a certain image to people who you don't even know, to use that in a court of law, to me, it just becomes a slippery slope. I am concerned about that being kind of like a go-to for law enforcement moving forward, because I don't want it to get away from the actual facts. You need to actually do some detective work. If you have detective work, if you have footage, video cameras, audio, wiretaps, that's legitimate evidence, right? That you've obtained as a detective, as a law enforcement official. You cannot get away from proving crimes using legitimate evidence and just rely solely on social media, and in this case lyrics, because it's a slippery slope. Because if you're going to prosecute Bobby Shmurda, Casanova, Fetty Wap, and NBA YoungBoy was just in jail, Tekashi 6ix9ine, we can go down the list of rappers that are in jail right now, right? If you want to prosecute them, then prosecute the other people that are talking about shootings and guns and drugs and murders in their music.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody who doesn't have any sympathy for that is the DA of Fulton County, Georgia. This is Fannie
Right.
Willis. She basically came in and says, I have some legal advice. Don't confess to crime on rap lyrics if you don't want them used, or at least get out of my county. By the way, Mina, you talk about people on social media. You can't, whether or not they're portraying an image or it's the real thing. I should have had you on my Andrew Tate episode to talk more about that. But that's a whole different story, whole different case. I know we have to let you go. Mina, Thank you so much for taking the time. Mina SayWhat. You can find her on SiriusXM. You can check out her podcast. Mina, any other places anybody can find you want to promote?
Just Google me at Mina SayWhat. I'm there. You
She's
can
all
find
over.
me.
She's all over the
Right.
place.
And thank you. I was ready to talk about the legalities of the case because, I went to Syracuse and I
Yeah.
had a double major. I had a major in television, radio, and film and poli-sci. So my political science side of my brain is, knows all the ins and outs of, the legalities and the plea deals and the implications
Well,
of the RICO Act on a statewide. And I was ready to go. So whenever you
tell
want
you
me
what,
to come back on, we can talk about anything.
if you want to come back on, this case is going to go on. I'd love to have you back on to talk about this.
I would love it. We
Okay.
can follow it together and talk.
Perfect. And that's all we have for you here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.